What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about the top 5 most heavily shorted EV stocks in the market as of right now. So I want to go over all the things that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So a couple of things I do want to go over. I did only include stocks that are over 100 mil market cap. So that does exclude a lot of the crazy volatile ones such as HYLN, Canoe, Faraday. So a lot of those unfortunately do get below that. So again, I felt advantageous to not include them. But aside from that, getting to stock number 5, you have Polestar. At the time doing this video, it is sitting at 109 over the last 1 year, down 40.44, and then over the last 6 months it is up 15%. So doing okay for that, but 10.53% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 40.27 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average 17.5, utilization 93.46%. And you'll kind of find a very common scenario playing out with a lot of these EVs, and that is shorts doubling down recently. So for instance, in Polestar, short interest recently was 9.33 and now it is 10.53. Not a significant amount, but that is an increase of roughly 10% over roughly a 1 week span. So again, potentially could mean something. Maybe they're anticipating a broader pullback. Through IBKR though, it does indicate that there is roughly 150,000 shares available to be shorted. Reason why I bring that up is typically if you have not many shares available, you could see some corresponding buying coming from big money such as BlackRock, Vanguard. A lot of other big players like to buy stocks just to lend out. So again, that might play a part in some of these stocks. So Polestar is stock number 5. Moving over to stock number 4, that is Hyliion, tickers HYLN, sitting at $1.69 over the last 1 year, pretty much flat. And then over the last 6 months, regrettably, it has been losing a lot of its momentum. So it is down 10.11%. But 14.38% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 17.22 million shares overall are being shorted. Short score, the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is sitting at 70.34. And then a couple of things as well. I'm not going to go over them in every single case, but look at DTC, that is 14.91 days. So that incorporates the average volume for instance, the stock and how many shares are being shorted. So potentially this is how, if you have a high DTC, it could result in a little bit higher of a squeeze. But also one thing I do want to draw to your attention is that there is 17.22 million shares being shorted, as I mentioned, but only 10.3 million on loan. So something doesn't jive for that. So obviously a clear indication that there is some naked shorting happening with this stock. But like I mentioned with the previous stock, so Polestar, obviously shorts doubled the hell down recently as well with this. So you see that huge increase right there. So yeah, for whatever reason, shorts feel justified to double down. I'm not really sure why. So let me know your general thoughts. Do you think that it's just the broader market fears, or do you think that the EV sector is struggling a little bit more than what the market's letting on? So let me know your thoughts on that. Moving on to stock number 3, you have NIO, sitting at $4.63 over the last 1 year. It is down 14.73. Over the last 1 month, it is up 10.24%. So gaining some pretty good momentum for that. They just put out their numbers, so their February numbers, and it was a rather okay. So we'll just have to wait and see how the market does take it. But based on, I think the market might not be all that satisfied and really like under the impression that they will meet their March numbers and their targets, because in February there was 13,192 vehicles delivered. Of that, 9,100 was NIO, and then 4,000 was Onvo. So again, we'll just have to wait and see how the market does take that. But 14.42% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 192.62 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum is negative, so you are seeing a clear indication of manipulation because there is a broker out there physically paying people to short NIO. So Again, something sketchy is going on for that. Short score 77.94. Similar to the last couple of stocks, you have shorts really doubling down. So went from roughly 11.13% to a peak of 14.8 in a span of like 5 days, give or take. So interesting stuff. Through IBKR does indicate roughly about 1.5 million shares available to be shorted. So most likely you won't be seeing any buying, just so they can lend out stock with NIO at least. So again, it is what it is. This is stock number 3. Moving on to stock number 2, you have good old Rivian sitting at $11.84 over the last 1 year. It is up 4.78%, and then over the last 6 months down 14.39%. And then over the last 1 month, definitely pulling back alongside many of the other EVs, down 6.29%. But 17.39% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 148.5 million shares overall are being shorted. Short score 75.22. And when it comes down to Rivian, it was kind of the inverse a little bit. So shorts did return leading into their earnings significantly, but since then they did pounce. So obviously interpreting it as this, I think that shorts were estimating that Rivian was actually going to beat on their earnings, but obviously that didn't really happen, so most likely they're starting to get back in. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around 1 million shares is available to be shorted, so most likely, again, you won't see any corresponding buying coming from big money for that. And then moving on to stock number 1, same thing as last week, and that is good old Lucid. So sitting at $2.22 over the last 1 year, down 31.27%, and then over the last 1 month, down 17.63. This last week, for the most part, has been one wild ride. So it did have a kind of peak on the 18th of roughly like $3.53. Since then, they had their earnings, a lot of big crazy shakeups for that, but definitely things have not really gone according to plan for them. But 24.06% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 291.64 million shares overall are being shorted. Just over the last roughly 3 days, shorts have increased almost 25 million shares. And I know this because I have a dedicated Lucid channel. So it's been a unique kind of scenario playing out. Short score 73.81, and you don't see those crazy spikes that you did with, for instance, a lot of the other stocks. Rather, it was more of a controlled increase ever since their earnings. So it went from roughly 19.47% to a high of, actually even recently, 24.06. So kind of crazy stuff. Through IBKR does indicate roughly about 7.8 million shares is available to be shorted. And again, I know kind of the day-to-day of Lucid for the most part because I do cover it every single day. And for pretty much the last 6+ months, the available shares has been always in excess of 10 million. So the fact that you're actually seeing at 7.8 million or kind of ranging between that does go to show that some individuals did sell out that was lending out shares. So that's why the available shares did go down, because even if we scroll down here, February the 27th, in excess of 10 million. It's been like that for like 6, like I said, plus months. It's always been in excess of 10 million. That's kind of the highest that Ortex does show. So the fact that it's actually broken off of that does go to show that some entities have been selling. So I don't know, might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. You do whatever floats your boat. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. So do you own any of these stocks? Is there any other EVs that is kind of floating your boat so that you feel are squeeze plays? What's your general takeaway from all that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.